Talk to the Hans is with us this morning. Hans, good morning.
Good morning, Scotty.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah?
Yes, I just seem to cruise. Day to day, you just got to do things that you got to do.
Well, you and Tom Cruise. I mean, if you were in the same room, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them.
This is a good way to start the week.
What are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to talk about people with our couples, and they tend to bring up the past. They also tend to ruminate over things in the past, that's gone against them. And also some people just think about, the regretful things that they've done. So what it means is that we tend to go back when we remember things. It's normally negative things. We have more of a propensity to remember the negative.
Why do we
things.
do that? It's like...
My suspicion is, and there's no research or anything around this, but I believe actually the hippocampus part of the brain, right? So that part of the brain's got to keep you safe. So it's always trying to work out what's happened so that doesn't happen again. And so it's that keep yourself safe part of the brain.
Self-protection.
That's a better
But I know
word.
counsellors often will go back to, tell me how you first met. Remember what you loved about each other in the beginning. So often counsellors will try and actually get you to remember the good things, won't they?
Yeah, but I think if you were to think or add up where your thoughts go during the day, we tend to think about and process the negative things rather than the positive things, actually. And because we do that, then as soon as something happens again, the same sort of thing, then we remember how it happened before. And then sometimes in couple relationships, the argument will be, well, you did this and you did this, and you're thinking, why are you bringing this up?
Yeah, this happened 10 years ago.
And the thing is, I'm afraid that women tend to remember the past pain, hurts that they've experienced more than men. And the reason for that is because if they really felt the pain back then, that's part of the memory, you see. So anything where we've been hurt will definitely be in our memory. Whereas guys sometimes are hurt, but they've forgotten about it because the pain wasn't that deep, or they've done some sort of a self-talk that goes, this is just how it happens. But that's not necessarily what another partner can do.
Sometimes pain is there for a reason, and that is to tell us that there's danger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. That's a part of the brain that stores it. Yes, you're
so
right.
in some ways, I mean, even though you don't want people bringing up the past, in some ways the pain is there because it's actually been a painful time.
Yes.
And it's warning you that this could happen again.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the reason why we remember it. So, but if you're in an argument with your partner and you keep on bringing up the past, and I remember when you did this and you did this, and it becomes rather tedious, actually.
And where do you go from there? Like, what do you do? As the other person, you can't really.
Well, I normally appeal, actually. Can we not talk about the past? Can we just talk about the situation that we're facing at the moment, which is more helpful, actually. But sometimes people don't like that because they want to remind you that this is an ongoing behaviour that you've got. And I've asked you to stop that ongoing behaviour. You're not stopping it. And so they're going to remind you as to how it used to happen. So that's what also happens. But I tend to believe that really we need to sort of stay in the present. So if you've done something wrong in the present, you're better off discussing what happened in the present.
But you should also be probably resolving. Like, if it was never resolved properly, can you then go back and say, well, let's talk about what happened. Let's resolve it, so that you can then. Because the trouble is, if it's not resolved, people will keep bringing it up.
But the problem is with that, it's a good question, actually. The thing is, sometimes it can't be resolved because there are two different experiences. And not only that, but the memory tends to favour our way of experiencing and not the other person. And so the other person explains how they experienced it. And if there's no empathy on how the other person experienced it, but only they're looking for empathy on the way that they've experienced it. In other words, they're looking for support and empathy in the way that they've experienced, but they're not giving it to the other. That's not going to work, actually, because then you'll feel as if this is all a bit one-sided. And so that's the reason why it just gets more complicated sometimes. And as I mentioned, because women hurt and feel emotional pain a little bit more than men normally, they have the memory there. And sometimes the guys will go, I don't even remember that. The other thing that happens is that sometimes we process pain differently. And so sometimes women need to talk about their pain that they've experienced, so they need to talk it out. Whereas guys can sometimes just compartmentalize it. Or just go, yeah, well, I get that happened. I'm sorry, but let's move on. That you're more to hear that from a male than you would from a woman. And she wants it resolved, but it can't always be resolved because the subjective experience of that moment that you felt the pain is different.
How important is forgiveness in all of this? Because
very important.
yeah,
actually.
I mean, like that's the thing that can kind of be that circuit breaker, isn't it?
Yeah, and forgiveness can create a new narrative actually. So you have a story where you were hurt, but if the person's really sorry, and they've asked for forgiveness, well, they've really said that, look, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to do it. I'll try. I don't want to do it again. And so the narrative then is that this person's really sorry. Sometimes if you do something to make up for it, take a person out, or so what you try and do, you try and create a new narrative around pain, and the new narrative is the thing you're supposed to remember, not the pain. So that's another way around it actually. So if you can do it. The thing about it is that the most important thing is if you go in the past, you're going to have a different memory of it, and unlikely to resolve it. You can do it through therapy sometimes if it's deep pain. But my suggestion is you try and tackle the issue that you're facing in the present.
Yeah.
If you can, and try and resolve that and make that your new narrative. We've got a way of resolving things.
Yeah. Which is tough because sometimes if one person's feeling like the past is unresolved, then it's hard to move on to that new one. But I absolutely agree. Like, you got to focus on, it's what we're talking about right now. Yeah, can we deal with this?
Yeah. So if someone's hurt in the moment, can we just talk about this and explain? Look, I was really hurt by what you did, and then the other person needs to have if they go into defense mode, not good. If they go into empathy mode and understand, okay, I get it, that you were hurt. Sometimes we don't fully understand because that same thing may not hurt us. That's another problem. But normally, I normally suggest see if you can resolve this thing in the present, because what happens if you bring up the past, it just complicates matters. And you may easily be able to go to the past, but your partner can't, and they can't even remember it. And then you have an argument.
And it's going to blow up.
And that's sad, actually.
Yes.
When that happens, because it's just, and then you can have an argument. And then you feel the disconnect, and then you got to do a repair job after the argument. So I say stick to the present if you can, nip it in the bud. Like if you're feeling it, try and talk about it.
Show empathy.
Yep, just do a default empathic response. Don't get defensive. Defensive makes things worse. Understand that another person feels things differently than you, and so this person is hurt, even though you may not be hurt, or you can't understand the hurt, but this person's hurt, so you got to deal with the hurt that the person feels. You can't say, I don't know why you hurt about that.
Yeah, just move on. What are you worried about?
No, it doesn't. That definitely doesn't work.
I know from experience that doesn't work.
Yeah, I think we've all got our stories about how we wanted to move on.
Yeah.
But the other person can't.
Thanks, Hans.
Pleasure.
Good, wise advice as always.